Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Making It in Manhattan. In just a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by one of my favorite people to follow on social media. Her name is Kristen Bateman, and she's a style icon, freelance writer, author, and consultant. She's written for Vogue, the New York Times, and pretty much every major fashion magazine that you read, and I cannot wait to just pick her brain and ask her so many questions about breaking into the industry. So let's get started. Kristen, thanks so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
No, you have like the most amazing style, and I feel like I've followed you and admired your style for years. So to have you on the podcast, I'm truly so thrilled to just pick your brain and ask you about everything.
Thank you. I've been admiring your style for quite some time too. So I feel like we're both like girly pink, like fun fashion girls.
Yes.
So.
If you are watching the video, guys, I have on a bright pink skirt and Kristen has bright pink hair. So like we totally got the vibe today. So I just have a list of questions and we're just gonna dive in.
Sounds good.
My first question is, growing up, did you always have an interest in fashion?
Yes, I can remember from when I was really little, always wanting to choose what outfits I picked, always wanting to dress up in costumes, even when it's not Halloween, being really specific about like, I want like white Mary Janes, not brown Mary Janes, you know, like when I had to wear a school uniform, stuff like that.
So you knew right from the beginning, and you are like such a style icon. So it's cool to hear like from the get-go you knew.
Yeah, I always loved fashion, but I have to say I didn't know that I wanted to like 100% work in fashion until I was like a bit older.
Mm-hmm. That totally makes sense. And so where did you go to college and what did you study?
I went to Parsons and I did a double major. I did literary studies and journalism at Eugene Lang at the New School. And then at Parsons, I did integrated design, which is a create your own program. So I did everything from like silkscreen to illustration, textiles, all kinds of crazy stuff.
That's so cool. So like going into college, you knew you wanted to work in fashion, but were you unsure like what aspect of the industry you wanted to work in?
Yeah, I was like, do I want to be a designer? Do I want to do something with styling? I knew that from a young age too, I was doing a lot of writing, but I didn't know like, could that actually be a career? So I was like, oh, why not combine, you know, both like the writing and literary side with design and see. I did a ton of internships as well. So
yeah, and look at you now. Like, oh my goodness, you write for everybody. So what was like your first role after graduation, or if you want to talk about some of your internships too, and like how did all of those experiences like ultimately impact your career?
So I have like a very unconventional path. Like I started a blog when I was in middle school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it was just like
so
me.
You knew from the get-go, you knew.
Yeah. It was like me writing about like random stuff like, oh, the fashion in this film, or like the history of the Rolex watch. Like not necessarily a traditional like blog, like style blog that you see today where it's just outfit photos. It was more like me using it as a platform to explore different topics I was interested in. So then when I was in high school, I was continuing that blog and I saw that Vogue Italia was looking for contributors. And that was actually my first published article when I was 16, writing for Vogue Italia.
Oh my goodness. Wait, that's so cool.
Yeah.
16.
I didn't tell them how old I was. I just like was like, hey, like here's some ideas.
And what was the article, the first article?
I believe it was about astrology and fashion. Yeah.
That's so incredible. You're like at high school, like living your Hannah Montana life. Like one day you're a normal high school kid, next you're writing for Vogue Italia.
And I was in like rural Virginia, so like there was like no fashion people. Like I was like the fashion loner.
I love this. It's like on TikTok, you know, it's like so and so knew who they were from a very young age. Like you knew what you were supposed to do. So then after that, like what happened?
So after that, I went to Parsons. I did a ton of internships at magazines. Like I was at Marie Claire, Harper's Bazaar. I also was at opening ceremony, actually in this building.
No way.
Yeah, I did an
That's so
internship in this
cool.
building for like the opening ceremony blog back when they were like
full circle moment.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then I guess I started freelancing in college as well. I was writing for Harper's Bazaar, New York Times, ID, a couple other fashion magazines.
Yeah.
So when I graduated, I was like, I don't I had a hard time finding like an on-staff role that was right for me. So I was like, I think I want to just like keep going with what I'm doing with freelancing. So I essentially did that. I also did like right when I graduated, I joined Stylecaster as a freelance associate editor.
Okay.
And that really helped me with learning a lot about like SEO and like content management systems, which I still use on like my newsletter and my blog that I run today as well. So yeah.
So it's been a journey, and so you must have even at 16 been a really good writer. Like,
I feel like half of like being a good writer is just reading a lot, you know. And I was like one of those kids that it was like I would like beg my mom take me to Barnes and Noble because that's the only bookshop around for miles. Look at the fashion magazines, all the fashion books I can get my hands on. Go to the library, you know.
I love that, and I love you and your mom like go to Fashion Week together. You have such a beautiful relationship. Kristen will post on her TikTok like a mother-daughter fit check. Like, is your mom into fashion as well?
Yeah, her career wasn't in fashion, but she's always loved dressing up. So I think that's just been inspiring to me as well, because she was always like, wear whatever you want. Like people may say things to you and you have to be ready for it. Like, but wear whatever you want as long as you accept that, you know?
I love that. I love that mindset. Like, be ready.
Yeah.
People are gonna say stuff.
Exactly.
Because I feel like we don't always think that. We're like, oh, like, we hope there's no haters. But, like, you're like, there's gonna be haters.
There's always gonna be a hater. There's always gonna be someone that stops you on the street or that's staring at you. I mean, anywhere you go, it's not even just in New York. I feel like in New York, it's actually less versus if you go to the suburbs.
Totally.
There's always gonna be
always somebody always trying to, like, bring you down. And so my next question is, you know, I think you've kind of touched on this, like you write for all these big publications. So, you know, you saw online there was an opening for a freelance pitch at Vogue Italia. You just reached out, emailed them, and has that kind of been like the process throughout your entire career? I feel like freelancing is such an interesting field.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. It's been just me connecting with editors, a lot of time cold pitching them, people I don't know, and developing those relationships, especially because this industry, I'm sure as you know, it changes so much. Like 99% of the people that I interned for, they're no longer in this industry working as editors. So it's just been me like reading. I'll like go to the website. I still do this today to get like new clients. I'll go to the website. I'll see who the editor is, who I think would be best, and I cold pitch them.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah, because I find it so interesting. And you've written for New York Times, Vogue, like everybody. Like literally, guys, like Kristen has literally written for all of the big name magazines. So it's so interesting that even still today, like you have such an incredible resume and you're still like, I'm just cold pitching. I'm just reaching out, seeing.
I think that's what people don't realize about like that kind of thing, especially being a freelance fashion writer. It's like I always tell myself the worst thing that can happen is they're not going to respond or they're going to say no. And it's like, so what? Then you just move on, right? So I think some people are scared sometimes to like take that leap, but I'm here to tell you should.
Yes. And that's what we need, guys. I mean, I feel like if anything, COVID in the past few years has taught us you can work from home and you can build your career from home, and freelance writing is a great way to get your foot into the industry.
And if you do it, it doesn't have to be like a side hustle. Like that's like my main source of income besides consulting, you know. So
and I want to get into all of consulting. And everything. So my next question is like, who have been your biggest mentors in the industry, and what's the best advice they've ever given you?
It's interesting because I feel like just having sort of an unconventional career path, I don't necessarily have one mentor, but I would say a lot of the editors that I've worked with, who, especially the editors who are truly great editors, who make certain edits to make your story stronger or like make suggestions, those in a way are my mentors, you know, and I take away a lot. Each time I work on something new, I feel like I'm taking away a lot from that, you know?
Yeah, and that's beautiful to hear you say that you still feel like you're learning and like you're open to edits, because like as a seasoned freelance writer, like there's a lot of collaboration still in there.
I feel like you have to be always wanting to learn to develop your work and to get better at what you're doing. And just like to have that outlook. It's so important.
Yeah. Have you ever gone back and read some of like your very first articles?
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel about them? Like,
It's
what are your thoughts?
sometimes it's so cringe. I'm like, I don't want to read my own work. Like, even now, sometimes I'll have a big piece come out and I'll be like, I don't want to read it. Like, it's out, but I don't want to read it. I read it so many times in the editing process.
Yeah,
I'll just like post it and be like, it's out in the world.
Wait, I love that. Like, it's cool to hear that even still today, like, you get butterflies almost, or like jitters. You're not just like, oh yeah, whatever, it's in vogue. Like, that's so like refreshing to hear that it's still exciting for you and nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And so my next question is, what advice would you give to someone right out of college who wants to move to New York City?
I would say definitely, if you can. I know there's a lot of interesting conversations about it in terms of like privilege and stuff, but interning really helped me because I had no connections to New York other than the fact that my mom grew up here, but we had moved away like into the rural South. So I didn't know anyone here. I just went to college here. But if you really want to live here, try to go to college here, try to do an internship. There's a lot of internships that are paid now too. So I think I learned really invaluable things from interning. Like, I think I did like 9 different internships. So
wow,
yeah.
That's incredible. And I talk about this a lot on Making It in Manhattan. Like, interning is the best way to get your foot in the door.
And I feel like it's changed so much from when I was in college. I don't know if there's as many intern programs, but I would say too, like, if you're interested in a company or working with someone, like, why not just reach out to them, you know?
Yeah, the worst they can say is no.
Exactly.
And I feel like anyone listening to this right now, like, keep that in mind as you go about your day today and your week and this month. Like, the worst anyone can say is no. If you've been saving that email in your drafts, or you've been holding on to that post you've been too scared to post, like, there's always going to be a hater.
Yeah.
The worst people can say is no. Like, you have such good tidbits of inspiration.
It really doesn't matter. Just do it.
Just do it. Truly, truly. And then as a freelancer and a consultant, and you also are a jewelry designer, which we're going to get into too, I'm sure no 2 days are ever the same, but can you walk us through what a typical day in your life looks like these days?
It's definitely like never the same. I would say like sometimes I may not be working on like a freelance fashion or beauty editorial story, but the one thing I'm always doing is brand consulting. Okay. So sometimes I'll have like ongoing client projects or like meetings for that I have. Sometimes I'll have appointments, like interviews that I'm doing with designers, which is not related to brand consulting. A lot of the times people think fashion writing too is really glamorous, but I'm literally sitting in my apartment just writing for hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Like not getting up, like sometimes not even like doing my hair and makeup, you know.
And how about many would you say like a month freelance stories do you do?
Oh gosh, it really depends. Like, it's a lot of my work too, I think, is seasonal because I write so much for Fashion Week. I'm doing a lot of reviews.
Kristen is like pumping out Fashion Week. You are like writing so much. I don't know how. And she's at every show, guys. Front row, dressed looking fabulously. Like, I don't know how you do it.
It's hard. It's like, I think it's kind of increasingly hard to manage like the fashion writing and like the social media.
Yeah, and she posts content. She posts outfit videos.
I need to like clone myself, you know.
I don't know how you do it. Like, truly.
Honestly, like a lot of times I'm writing on my phone. Like, if you see me at a show early before it starts and I'm looking at my phone, 9 times out of 10 I'm writing like in a like note the notes app.
Oh my god, I love it.
I'll paste it like into a Google Doc and submit it.
I love that. And it's funny, like us just talking, that's bringing back memories. I think the first time like I ever saw you was at a fashion show, and we were sitting like diagonally or something, and in my mind I didn't go up to you, but I was like, that girl looks so cool, because again, like, you always have such cool outfits. But it's just so funny, guys, like how everything works. And you were probably on your phone, and I was probably like, oh, I don't want to go bother her. And you were probably writing a story.
Sometimes I feel like rude because I know like it's a great place to network, at the shows.
But you're working.
And like people come up and they want to talk, and I'm like, sorry,
I have a deadline.
Yeah.
So during the fashion week, are you doing a lot of show reviews or interviews?
Yeah, show reviews, also interviews, features. A lot of times too, I think people don't realize, even if I'm not covering a show and writing about it instantly after the fact, it's inspiring a story idea that like maybe I'll pitch to one of my editors for a print feature, after Fashion Month ends. And then that will be out like a few months from now. Yeah. It's kind of like I'm like analyzing, I'm making notes, I'm keeping tabs on things, you know? Because I think it's important just to see things in real life.
Yeah, definitely. And predicting trends and what's coming next and everything. So for my next question, as I've mentioned, you have such a fun and unique sense of style. So where do you look for inspiration when getting dressed and purchasing new pieces? I just want to know all about your style and like your evolution and everything.
I feel like everywhere, like I love discovering new designers. So if I see something on Instagram, like I'll bookmark it. Even like on Twitter, sometimes I'll see like different imagery. I love shopping secondhand, so I'm always on Vestiaire. I'm like searching once a day minimum for like certain things. Yeah. Tons of saved searches on the Real. That's like my addiction. At 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. when they have the new stuff. Launch.
That's a good tip.
Yeah. So that as well. I love shopping in person at the outlets. Honestly, that's like my biggest addiction, and that's where I've found so many like pieces. Honestly, I got I have these boots in a different colorway that I got at the outlets. Yeah.
No way.
Because they have like the runway stuff.
Which outlet do you go to?
Woodbury.
Oh my gosh, I love Woodbury Commons. Those are my favorite.
My favorite, yeah. So Prada outlet, Gucci outlet, Marni, all the Italian brands.
Literally, guys, the Woodbury Common premium outlets are heaven for any fashion lover.
The best time to go is January and July because that's when it's like deep sale season and it's like after the holidays. Pro tip.
Didn't even think about that. Okay, guys, we're all making a trip in January.
I don't gatekeep.
Field trip. So your style, it's just so cool. Like, have you always been so fearless, or like, what's your style journey and evolution?
I feel like in terms of finding a personal style, it is a journey, and it's like, I think myself and like other people who do have a more eclectic personal style, it's like you're learning along the way what you like. I'm also someone who I feel like one day I'll do like a more gothic look, and one day I'll be like super super girly, and like I like that. I think it keeps things interesting. I like to try on different like kind of personas. But yeah, I would say I've always been like more maximal for sure. And more like a dress girl. Like, you know, I'm not like, I have like 2 pairs of jeans. I rarely wear jeans. And pants, I don't really like pants.
Oh my god,
Skirts and dresses.
Love that. And so were you like this in high school and college too?
Yeah.
Wow. I love it.
I remember in high school I would always be wearing dresses and like little like wedge heels, and people would be like, why are you so dressed up?
You need to do like a style evolution video on TikTok. I would die.
I did go through like a tomboy phase too though, where I was like actually skateboarding.
No.
I would wear like the skater shoes.
I can't even picture that. I'm obsessed.
I know. And like I literally had like the black eyeliner under my eyes and like teased hair. But it was a moment.
It's a phase. We all have to try out different things with fashion.
And if you weren't an emo kid, like, who are you?
Literally. And so, are there any people you love following for style?
Yes, I love following you, of course.
I love you.
Sarah Camps. I'm sure you know her.
Cool. I love
my gosh. I feel like whenever I watch her videos, I'm always like learning and thinking about fashion in a different way.
Yes.
And I love like looking at people like that who are like, oh, I'm literally going to put underwear over a pair of like jeans.
Literally. Like, and it looks amazing.
Yeah. Or like, I'm going to wear a necklace as a belt. It's just like, it recontextualizes like what we wear and how we wear it. And I think it's interesting. Even if you don't like replicate it, it makes you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love your style. I love following your page and seeing what you're wearing and all the different brands you're also featuring and stuff, because as you mentioned, you're always featuring cool and upcoming designers. So that's like so refreshing.
Yeah. I love emerging designers. I try to support them whenever I can.
Yeah, and which is so important. And with Fashion Week, do you feel like you get to cover some of...
Yeah, I always make it a point. I always try to do like a roundup of my favorite emerging designers if I can.
I love that.
And then I try to spotlight them with like little trend pieces or one-on-one interviews if I can.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, as I mentioned, Kristen's been doing this for years. I feel like, especially during Fashion Week, headline, like so many different articles. And so, aside from your writing, you've mentioned you do creative consulting. So can you tell us more about that work? Like, how did you start as a consultant? Like, how did that come about? And now, like, what does it look like?
Yeah, so I started, I think, a year or so after I graduated college.
Okay.
And it was basically taking everything I've learned working on the editorial side and applying it to brands.
Okay.
So whether that be like copywriting or creative direction, social media strategy, all kinds of different things.
Cool.
And just building up like a stable of, I like working with emerging fashion brands, and I work with a ton of beauty brands as well.
Cool. Because I feel like we hear people throw around the term consultant. And I'm always like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What do you do?
It's interesting because I feel like it's kind of like that with freelance writer too. People will say that and they'll write like one article a year, or they'll say they're a consultant when they're just doing like social media content, which is like all well and fine. But I feel like they're really different things.
Yeah. And so when you started out, was it that you were like, oh, I feel like I could get my foot in the door of consulting? Or did a brand one day reach out to you and you were like, oh, I could do this as a job?
I think it probably started with brand content, because a lot of brands are looking for content, for their blogs or like their social media channels. So I had some brands reaching out to me being like, can you write a blog post for us? Or even PR agencies that I worked with on the editorial side being like, hey, did you ever write a press release before? Or, hey, did you write show notes before? Like, when you go to a fashion show and there's a little piece of paper.
You've written those before?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is making sense, guys. This is what consulting is. You like do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, it depends. Some people have, like, one thing they focus on, but I like to do different things, and I think it keeps things interesting. And I think, to be transparent, because I like to be transparent, for people who want to be in the industry, it pays a lot better than like editorial writing. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So would you say the bulk of your income is from consulting and then freelance writing, or what's the
It depends, like, which clients I have. Like, sometimes I'll have a retainer client, and it's like a contracted thing.
Nice.
But yeah, I would definitely say it pays better than editorial writing,
Interesting.
Yeah, because the magazines just don't have the budgets today that they used to, unfortunately.
Totally. And this is your full-time gig, so, and I really appreciate the transparency, because like you said, I feel like people will throw around, I'm a freelance writer, but then like Carrie Bradshaw, but then we're all sitting at home being like, girl, how are you paying for this apartment and buying
like Manolos? How are you getting $4 a word, because that does not exist.
Literally. I'm like, I love Sex, as you know, I love Sex and the City. I watch reruns all the time, but I'm just like, how was she affording that apartment, and how was she also affording the drinks and the dinners and the shoes? And I'm like, this isn't realistic.
Yeah, I would say, unfortunately, you cannot really like support yourself fully just doing editorial writing on a freelance basis unless you have help from your parents or other things.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Definitely. And I appreciate
in New York anyway.
Yeah, in New York.
I like to be transparent, because I feel like this industry is not very transparent about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, younger people especially, they have questions about it. So.
Yeah, and it's so helpful for young people who might be listening to this who are in college or even out of college and want to break into freelancing, and they're trying to understand like the balance of paying for rent and clothing and this and that. So it's nice to hear you're like, okay, do it, but also do some other things on the side.
The great thing about being a writer and building up those skills, though, in fashion and beauty is that you will have transferable skills to do consulting. So,
true.
I honestly think more people should like
Get
be
into
like
it.
do consulting. Yeah.
Yeah, and in fashion, I think the beauty is with social media and with everything, we can have our feet in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you work for yourself and you're your own boss, there's no limits. That's the
No.
great thing. That's why it's like I just prefer that.
Yeah. Okay, so you do so many things. So from writing, creative consulting, you have a blog, and you have a jewelry brand. How do you find time to balance everything and still have a personal life? Like, do you have any tips for other people listening to this to balancing it all?
It is hard. I have to be honest, to feel like you are not working. But the thing is, like, I feel like I love what I do. So I'm like, if I'm working on the weekends, which I am most of the time, it doesn't really feel like it.
Yeah.
I do like to take breaks though, and just do things that feel like indulgent, like watch like 3 hours of Ugly Betty.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to like feel like, yes, like you can do that, or like watch 2 movies in a row if you need to, like
have a break.
Yeah, and like put your phone away, don't look at it for a minute. Like my thing is, I always have to remind myself, like, it's okay if you don't check your email for like an hour, because like I'm always like on my phone.
Yes.
Checking my email,
absolutely.
like looking, did someone DM me? Because
same.
Yeah.
And it's easy in our industry to get caught up with feeling like you need to be accessible at all times, and like even, you know, I have a hard time on weekends like not replying to a work email, or not, you know, we're still posting, we're still engaging, like it never ends.
It takes a lot of energy, and I think too we need to tell ourselves sometimes it's okay not to reply immediately, or not reply at all if you need to like protect yourself, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing that's hard with social media, is like you want to be accessible a lot of the time, but you still need to protect your peace.
Exactly. 100%.
And when you started out in freelancing and everything, like you didn't, I mean, social media existed, but like you've built like a great following now as well from your style and from, you know, your work experience. Like, what's that been like?
Yeah, it's been interesting, because I feel like when I didn't really utilize social media so much until I was like kind of in my last few years of college, or out of college, because I see now like these people who will do like full vlogs about like, oh, day in the life of a Parsons student, you know?
You're probably like, what?
I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't imagine myself doing that back then. Like we had Instagram, but we were using it like as a way to like just edit photos, you know what I mean?
The filters, all the different filters.
Yeah, so
that was a time.
It's been interesting. I feel like social media, as a writer, it's a great way to reach people, because I'm always like, I'll message someone and be like, hey, I want to interview you, and it can be easier to reach people who don't have PR, you know what I mean?
So true.
Easy, and sometimes better too,
because
you're working directly with the person. You don't have to go through a third party. And I think it's like a great way to connect with people. Like I have people who read my work, who will repost it, who maybe aren't in the industry, but just are like, oh, I love your writing. And that's really cool feedback that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get without social media.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I've just loved watching like all of your outfit videos and her fashion week videos with her mom. But yeah, it's so different from your writing, but it's true that you are now able to use that tool to apply it to your writing and your freelancing and to reach new people. And
sometimes too, I just like to do an outfit video, because it feels like so different than like putting together a story. Like they're both content, but it feels like something you don't really necessarily have to think about.
Yeah, and
like,
it's cool to show yourself.
Yeah.
Like, who's the girl behind the name and the byline?
I think it's interesting too, because like as a writer, sometimes you're not necessarily seen as like a recognizable face. Yeah. So it's been interesting just connecting with people.
Yeah, but you definitely are a recognizable face in the industry. And I want to now chat about your jewelry brand, Chong. So I want you to just like tell me all about it. And then also, so once you got the idea to create this jewelry brand, like what was the next step? What did you do? So tell us all about it.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to have my own jewelry brand for like a really, really long time. I've always loved jewelry. I remember when I was like in high school, I would wear like literally like 15 different rings, like big rings, you know, really big rings. When I was going to go to college, there weren't that many like jewelry classes or programs, even at Parsons. But I was like, maybe I want to have a clothing brand, but I feel like jewelry would be easier. So it's just kind of something I've always wanted to have, but didn't really know like how to go about it, and didn't really have the resources, because like you have to like make a little of investment, you know. So finally, like, I guess it was a year and a half ago or so, I was like, I'm just gonna do this, like, put together the website, sign up on Shopify. It's a platform we use, get the social media going, and just figure out how to basically manufacture it ourselves.
Where did you, like, how did you find manufacturers and all of that?
It's just me and one other person, and we figured out a way to do it, and it's like very scrappy, and people don't realize that. So like we want to be sustainable, so we make everything to order, which I also think some people don't realize. But yeah, it's like a really technical like process that is kind of too complicated to explain. But
wow, so is it made here in New York?
In New York.
You
that was super important to us. Yes.
Wow. I didn't even realize that you and someone else were making it, like actually physically making the
exactly jewelry. Because I love New York, and I feel like if I was gonna do something, I want it to feel purposeful and like it has an intent behind it. And like just being in New York, making it in New York, not doing it overseas was super important to me.
Yeah, and the pieces are so unique and fun. Like, what was the inspiration behind it?
I love like quirky, weird stuff, and I kind of designed Doll Chunk to be like what I wanted to buy but couldn't find. You know? Love that. So I love faces. Like, as you can see, I have a face on my dress. So we started with the baby doll, chunky baby doll face. I love it. And then we went on to like eggs, bows.
I love the eggs.
Yeah, they're so fun.
With the pearls. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's like kind of like, wow, what is that? You know, like people look at it, people ask about it.
That's awesome.
But overall, I wanted something that was like happy, chunky, like decadent, inclusive, just like, even if you don't buy it, I want it to be something interesting that people can look at and be like, wow.
Yeah, and what's your like goals with Doll Chunk? Like, do you have any like aspirations?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it in a store one day. Yeah. I think I have some pieces I want to get out, like that I'm working on right now that should be out before the end of the year. Ooh. And then maybe the next step can be like one retailer that I really love, you know?
Yeah, that would be so cool. I can't wait to see it all come to life. And it's been so cool, like, watching you create this brand. And it really is such a beautiful extension of you and your personal style.
Yeah, I try to, like, make it very much, like, feel very personal. Because I think jewelry, too, is very personal. Like, I'm sure you know, like, you wear tons of rings. And it's, like, it's almost like becoming an extension of yourself, like of your skin, you know?
Yeah, someone asked me the other day, they're like, do you sleep with all those rings on? And I was like, I do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't take off, like, my if I had a big ring on, I'd take it off. But, like, all of my just, like, fine jewelry, like, gold stacked rings, like, I wear them all the time. So just like you said, it's a part of your skin.
Exactly. Almost, and it's, like, it's so different than fashion, too, because I feel like you're gonna change your clothes, but like this will always be a part of you. Yeah. And it's like one way too to make your style feel so personal.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I love that. Well, I can't wait to see what's next for Doll Chunk. And what's the website where people can shop?
Dollchunk.com.
Dollchunk.com. And then I want to talk about your book.
Yes.
So you published, it's your first book, right?
Yes.
Called New York Style.
Yes.
And tell us, like, what that process was like, the inspiration behind writing a book. Like, was this always a dream you've had? And it's, guys, can we just talk about, she has a jewelry line. She's a freelance writer. She's a consultant. And now you wrote a book. Like, this is so incredible.
I always knew that I wanted to write a book, but I feel like I was doing so many other things that I didn't really prioritize it. But then, like, one day I was like, I gotta get this done. Like, and I think just writing a book about the history of New York fashion and the history of New York style in a very digestible format that's, like, not too academic, but very accessible so that anyone can pick it up and read it. It doesn't matter what age you are, really, like, was important to me because I love New York, obviously, and I love the fashion. I think it's the most exciting city in the world. So yeah, I got a literary agent and we pitched the idea and we got the deal.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it. I have seen you post all about it, and since I was coming here today to interview you, I was like, I need to read that.
I know. I actually meant to bring you a copy, but then I forgot.
No, I'll buy it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Or if you come to my book launch at
Oh,
Roger Vivier.
yeah.
I'm going to have tons of copies
Okay,
there.
good. I can't wait to read it, and I can't wait to see where that all goes. Like, do you want to write more books?
Yes, I actually have a couple that I'm working on. I haven't announced them yet.
Okay,
I can't say, but I'm really excited. They're actually going to be out in the spring, so.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And so what was the process like of writing a full book compared to, like, writing your articles?
Yeah.
What did that feel like?
It was, like, it's hard, right? Because, like, with a book, it's not the same as, like, a digital article where there's maybe, like, not really a specific word count. You really have to keep to like the layout and like the page count. It's not like I could be like, hey, I want to add 50 pages, which for me too, it's like New York fashion is such an expansive topic. I do feel like I wasn't able to fit it all in. It was about curating what I thought would best fit. I would love to do a second volume, but just the process for me, I basically was like, I'm going to write this amount of words this day and this amount of words this day.
Okay.
I'm going to spend this day researching, just kind of like consolidating it and breaking it up so that it didn't feel so overwhelming that I would be like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start.
Totally. And that's cool to hear that like you had a really solid process. It wasn't just like, I sat down and I wrote. Like,
yeah, I broke it up into an outline too, where it was like, this is this chapter, and this is this chapter, and this is what I want to cover in this chapter. And I don't know how it works for everyone else, but for me, I had to choose the photos before I wrote the book. But that was actually very helpful because it made me be like, okay, I gotta like choose this, and we have to just run with it, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to see it.
And I can't wait to see what other books you're working on.
Yeah.
But that's really great advice for anyone out there like who's trying to write a book is don't feel so overwhelmed by it. Create an outline, create a process that works for you ultimately. Set goals for maybe word counts per day and
exactly. Even if you can only write like a few hundred words a day, just sit down and do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I do that all the time where I just write something and I'm like, this is like so raw, but it's words on paper, you know, and you can go back and you can edit it and rework it. And that's better than not having anything at all.
Totally. I love that. Oh, and then we're going to talk about one of my favorite things next. I want to talk about your wedding.
Oh my gosh.
I saw the pictures in the New York Times and they were unreal and so beautiful. So also, I just need you to tell me like all about that process, planning your wedding looks and like incorporating your very unique personal style into your big day. Like what was that all like?
Okay, so in terms of like planning, I was engaged for like 2 years or like a year and a half, I forget. Oh, wow. So we didn't like know what we wanted to do, and then finally we were like, we should just do like a 2-part elopement, have fun with it. Like like not make it for everyone else, but really make it for us. It's less stressful and it's just easier. So we were like, I usually go to Paris for Fashion Week like 4 times a year for work. So I was like, well, why don't you come with me in July and we'll do like a side trip to like the countryside in France, because we've gone together before and it's like so beautiful. And we'll do like a little like ceremonial symbolic elopement, not like an actual wedding, but just like sort of like vows and photo shoot and dress up.
I love it. I love this.
And then we were like, when we come back to New York, we can do the legal wedding, you know, because like you can't be legally married unless you like get the certificate at City Hall and like, you know, the whole like bureaucracy of it. You have to have like a legal officiant or whatever. So we just like literally were like, let's do it at Central Park, 7 a.m. There'll be no one around.
Obsessed.
Like literally we hired this amazing reverend who's like a nomadic like lady who she'll go wherever you want and
my
like
God,
stage the wedding.
This is amazing.
So yeah, she just came with us at 7 a.m. We went in Central Park inside this little like Victorian place called the Ladies Pavilion.
Aww.
It's like a little like, I don't know how to describe it, like a little terrace place almost.
Okay.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in the photos in New York Times, but it was like very peaceful, very cute, and we had to like walk. It was really funny because we had to walk through Central Park to get there, and it was just like people biking and
This is so early.
yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh.
everyone was like so nice because I had like my full veil on, and everyone was like congratulations as they were like riding by on their bikes.
Oh, so New York.
Yeah, very
so
New York, right?
On their way to work and
Yeah,
stuff. People
yeah.
are yelling congrats. I love it.
Exactly. And then like people were like walking their dogs by.
I'm obsessed. And tell me like about your wedding looks. 'Cause
Yeah.
they were so beautiful.
Yeah, I thank you so much. I like wanted to do something really different. I didn't want to shop for a traditional wedding dress. I didn't really know what I wanted to do at first. So I was kind of like, if I saw a piece that was interesting, that I thought could maybe work for my wedding, I would buy it and just be like, oh, like if I don't wear it to my wedding, I'll wear it to Fashion Week, you know?
Good
So I
idea,
was just like building up a stable of like potential pieces. And then in Brittany, I ended up wearing 2 like spirally dresses that are like, yeah, they're crazy.
So sick.
From Noir K Nino Mio, which he's a Japanese designer under the Comme des Garçons umbrella.
Okay.
And one of them was white, so it was like a little bit more traditional for wedding dress. And I had also bought this like really big puff sleeve white dress from Comme des Garçons that I ended up layering underneath it.
Love.
Thank you.
Everything was so beautiful.
And then the other dress, it matched it. It was like green. And I layered literally a black lace Zara dress that I had for years underneath it. Yeah. And then I had like a pair of glitter tabbies from Margiela and a pair of like silver white tabbies that I wore. Oh, and a Simone Rocha veil and a Vivienne Westwood like chunky pearl necklace for the white look. Those were my French like elopement looks.
They were so good, and I love that you were like, yeah, I just collected items over time, and then if it didn't work, I'd wear it to fashion.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I wanted to bring in like my shoes and accessories that I already owned.
Yeah.
Just because I have so much stuff, I didn't feel the need to like buy something that, oh, like this is my wedding shoes. I think that's beautiful, and like if that makes someone happy, they should do it. But I was like, these look like they would work. They look like they would look great with it, so why not?
Totally. And I mean, I want to ask you a question next. You just inspired me to ask you about your closet. And so then tell me about your New York looks.
So New York, this is like more of a crazy story, but literally I had 2 dresses. One was like a black harness with 3D pink and black roses.
I loved that.
Thank
it was
you.
so like romantic still, and like though it wasn't traditional, just like white, it just was so perfect.
I thought so too. It was like very like sweet and like feminine but still dark.
Yes.
It just had like a really cool energy. So actually I found that dress at the Comme des Garçons Dover Street Market archive sample sale.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, so had you had it for a long time?
I bought it in June, and I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, when I bought it, I was like, listen, I don't know where I'm going to wear it. Actually, I was like, maybe I'll wear it to Fashion Week. And then once I got home with it, I was like, you know what?
Sick.
I think this could be my wedding dress. Yeah.
And it was so beautiful.
Thank
like,
you.
It was so perfect. And with your hair
Thank
everything.
you.
Oh, my gosh. And I loved your hair. You had, like, the
my
bow.
friend, Kim, who's an editorial stylist, like, she does a lot of the hair backstage at Fashion Week. We actually met backstage at Dior. She created a pink veil for me with tulle. And she put, like, literal hair bows on the veil, and then she did like a big like kind of like Lady Gaga style like pink bow on my hair. So yeah, I was very happy with it. I was like honored that she did that.
It was unreal. Like, you're so modest and humble, and I'm like gagging over here. Like, the wedding was so beautiful, and it was so you.
Yeah, I really wanted it to feel like I wasn't compromising, because I think white wedding dresses, they're like so beautiful, but it just didn't feel like me. Like, I never thought of myself like in a traditional long white gown.
Totally. And does your husband work in fashion or anything?
No, he's like so boring. Boring finance guy.
But how does he feel like about your style and about your looks? Because actually, this would be a great question because I get DMs a lot from people who ask me to like, I want to start dressing more maximalist like you, but I'm afraid of what my partner will think.
Interesting. Yeah, I think he's like very intrigued and like respectful about it, where he loves what I chose to wear and very supportive of me. And he also takes an interest in learning about fashion too, which is really cool. Like we'll be walking down the street and he'll be like, oh, is that a Chipova Luena dress? Like he knows like all these random brands like more than like
you've taught him well.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And I think if you have a supportive partner, like that's what will happen, you know?
Yeah. And so any piece of advice for a bride out there who's stuck on what to wear and wants to be unique and fun, but you know, just isn't sure what to wear? What's your advice?
I think you don't like start with the idea of thinking that you don't have to wear a wedding dress or a dress that's marketed as a wedding dress, because once you take that away, it opens so many doors. You can wear whatever you want. And I think we're at a really interesting point in time too, where people are getting more experimental with bridal wear, and they're wearing like maybe just a cool white dress that's not a wedding dress. Yeah. People are wearing vintage, which I think is really cool. That's a really amazing way to make it feel more personal, and it's very affordable. You can find a lot of really accessible options. And also adding in your own jewelry and shoes, doing a unique hairstyle, and doing the makeup that you want to do. I personally did my own makeup, so
I love that as well.
Yeah, because I just thought it would feel more true. And like I haven't had some great experiences with makeup artists sometimes, with it feeling like not natural or not looking like myself. So
absolutely,
that's another way you can make it more personal. And also layering, like for all of my looks I layered them. Even the New York look, it was layered over a silver Simone Rocha mini dress. So I think you can get
zoom
experimental.
in on the photos even more. I need to tell me about your nails too, because she still has her wedding nails right now, and they are like so sick.
Thank you. Yeah, so I wanted, like, I always have crazy nails when I can, and I love my nail artist, May, Nails by May. She's amazing. I wasn't sure what to do, and then like last minute I was like, I want to do something like kind of dark, kind of like the dress, like kind of dark but romantic, feminine. So it's a play on Till Death Do Us Part. It's crystal pink hearts and crystal skulls on silver chrome.
They are amazing, and it's beautiful because they just look like, at a quick glance, it just looks like bedazzled nails. Yeah. But then when you look really closely, you're like, oh, wait, no, those are skulls and hearts.
Yeah, exactly. And also for my New York elopement, I had a crystal Gucci clutch, which I don't know if you saw. Yeah. It's
tell us about it.
It's an anatomical heart clutch.
Obsessed.
And it went really well with my nails because it had crystals all over it. And I stored my vows inside in a piece of paper. And then I opened up, read the vows, and then handed my husband the heart clutch as if to like present him with my heart.
Oh, I love this whole thing. Everything about this was just so perfect.
I feel like only fashion girls can like really appreciate that.
Yes. Well, I saw the photo or a video on your TikTok of the clutch, and I was like, stop.
And that was a piece too that I already had in my wardrobe. Like I bought it, I don't remember, like I don't know, a year or two ago, and I was like, yes, this is like perfect for a wedding. Why not? So yeah, don't be afraid to like use pieces you already have in your wardrobe for your wedding.
So speaking of your closet, you have like the most amazing pieces. Like, do you have tips though for like storage in New York and like how you managed to have an amazing wardrobe in New York City?
That is like the world's greatest question. Living in New York,
literally.
I mean, I know that you probably do have that as well. But I just have like one like, it's not even a walk-in closet, but it's like literally piled to the ceiling. Everything's hung. There's stuff on the floor. I use like the deep sweater boxes and put not even sweaters but like pants and everything, skirts inside them, just because it makes it more stackable on shelves, which are on top of like the racks. And then also I am lucky enough that I have like now a devoted room that I'm building out as my closet.
That I can't wait to see that. That is gonna be so sick.
It's a work in progress, but it's just like, you know, racks with like, then there's trays for jewelry. I have like one whole tray of doll trunk, which is like really fun because all the pieces look super cute together. But one tray for sunglasses. I put a lot of my bigger pieces like tulle skirts, because I'm sure you know those are like so much space. Yeah, they're just like hanging there because there's like no way to fold them, you know.
Yeah, no, even like this skirt I'm wearing today, I'm wearing like a big ruffly pink skirt, guys. It takes up so much space.
Exactly. So it's like trying to figure that out, because I have a lot of like very volume heavy pieces, a lot of like big coats too. Mostly in that room that I'm building out, it's a lot of my outerwear, because I love outerwear, and I think that's like one of the most essential New York staples,
especially February Fashion Week. Forget it. It's like all about cool outerwear.
Yeah, all you can see is the outerwear.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter what's on underneath. Like,
exactly, you can wear pajamas.
Literally. And people will photograph you if you have a cool coat on.
Exactly.
Well, I can't wait to see that built out closet and a cool TikTok. We need a closet tour.
Yeah.
So now, just to wrap up the interview, this podcast is called Making It in Manhattan. So what would you say has been your Making It in Manhattan moment so far in your career where you feel like you've made it?
I feel like there are a few, and there's always going to be more, hopefully.
Yeah.
But like most recently, I would say seeing my little book of New York style in person at bookstores in the city, because, you know, when I was in college and even just like recently too, I would go there to look for magazines and buy fashion books and like buy other books for like research. So just seeing my book on the shelf there, it's like so magical to me, like the most amazing feeling.
Yeah, probably so surreal.
Yeah, like literally the Barnes and Noble in Union Square. I used to go to Parsons in college, so it's like that's where I would go after class to check out magazines, and now my book is there. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Such a full, I like have chills. That's such a full circle, beautiful moment. So thanks so much for joining me today on this episode of Making It in Manhattan. I'm so excited I got to chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me. That was so fun.
Oh my gosh, it was the best. I hope you guys loved it. Where can everyone follow you and find you?
Kristen V. Bateman.
Perfect. And you guys, you will love her style. Let me know what you guys think. Send me a comment. Let me know who you want me to interview in future episodes. And we will see you guys soon.
Bye.